And my apologies uh for the delay. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
It's quite all right.
Yeah. I had a client, things went a little over than usual, but the sound sounds amazing. I love it.
Excellent. I haven't had a chance
Yeah.
to log in to see how the audio was.
Oh, yes, perfect. Welcome in, everyone. Hi, Scarlett. How are ya? Hello, love. Oh, it's nice to see everyone. Let me get on my laptop here and help mod as well.
Excellent.
Yes. So I hope you don't mind. I decided to pour me a glass of wine for our discussion tonight because I am so excited.
When
It's
have
been
I
a long
ever
week already.
minded?
Well, yeah, just throwing it out there. There he is.
Maybe.
There he is.
Yes. I wasn't gonna turn the camera on while I was just streaming some music while we waited.
Oh, hi! I appreciate you so much for rating. Seriously, you could have just
Of course.
started. I would
Just
have
had to
just hopped
improvise a
right
little
in.
bit.
Yeah. Oh, Anna, she
Been
says
waiting
been
all
waiting
week
all
to do.
week. I love it.
Well, welcome in everybody. Oh, that's right. I did say I was gonna do this.
Use this voice.
Oh, I am here for this. Let's go. Sounds like Darth Vader or a stormtrooper.
All right, well, welcome in, everybody. Today's topic is the equality in relationships, starting with the whole statistics that 1/3 of couples experience the feeling of being overloaded with the workload within the relationship. You agree with that,
Yeah,
Bree?
I definitely agree. I think that, there's a lot that goes into a relationship for sure. Um, it's really important for there to at least be some sense of or some sort of reciprocation. You know what I mean? From your partner. Like, for instance, let's say the woman gets sick. I mean, for her partner, we would expect maybe some support or maybe some backup or, something. And it goes both ways, right? Like, if the man gets sick, for her to also step up and also kind of like take charge or maybe help him out. So, that's just one simple example, but I definitely feel personally that um, if there's not some level of reciprocation coming from both ends or an even amount of responsibilities, it can definitely weigh on one partner more than the other, for sure.
Absolutely. And statistics also show that most women are the ones that report they're overloaded with the workload in a relationship, while men tend to underestimate that and claim that it's a equal workload within their relationship, which in my personal opinion, the men that say that it's an equal workload is because a lot of people neglect to include the household work like plumbing, electrical work, uh, siding on a house, cleaning a gutter, mowing the lawn, shoveling the snow in snowy states.
Mhm, mhm. Not here particularly, but I definitely could understand that that chore. Absolutely. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
must be
I
nice to
mean,
not have the snow.
I, I don't want to brag too much, It's oh Lord. No, but yeah, there just needs to be a level of reciprocation, whether it be maybe a chore chart or hi Keys, how are you, honey? Anna. Oh my gosh, I love you ladies.
Hello.
Hi. What, like I said, whether it be a chore chart or whether it be a simple conversation or understanding, like trading off on dishes is all, like it doesn't need to particularly be on one partner more than the other. For instance, in most relationships, they usually find that the women are the ones who are supposed to be doing the dishes, but we can trade off. You know what I mean? Make the workload easier on one another.
Absolutely, and that's one of the topics is genders and gender roles and all that. There shouldn't be a specific role for specific genders. Like, yes, I understand that some of the workloads and everything can be more strenuous to a person's body, like
Yes.
carrying heavy things, moving around furniture, stuff like that. But at the same time, you want equality in a relationship. You got to be able to, pull your weight. You got to be willing to do these jobs too.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I mean, a woman can hop on a John Deere mower. I know I'd have some fun on that thing. you know,
Are we gonna have a John Deere race?
we have to. I'll
I
probably
would.
win. Mine's
Please.
gonna be souped up with a turbo.
Yeah, let me know how long that motor lasts. But yes, division of chores is also extremely important when it comes to the equality factor. To
Agreed.
me, honestly, that's like one of the biggest argument factors. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. Where the solutions are actually really simple. If you feel overloaded with workloads and everything, it's as simple as communicating to your partner, hey, I need a little extra help around the house. I need you to be able to pick up this or pick up that slack. That way you're not so overloaded.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to communicate it. You have to be willing to listen to your partner about it without escalating an argument. Because an argument, that's just going to, prolong the problem. It's going to make it worse. Anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely does. I mean, and as women, we tend to just kind of sometimes bottle up our emotions over time. And then all of a sudden, we just blow up. And I feel like that could be similar with men, but I'm just speaking from the woman's perspective. I know I'll
Oh,
hold it in for a bit.
it definitely is. It definitely is the same thing for men. We will just bottle things up until it eventually just leads to us blowing up, and that's never a good thing in any relationship. It's never a good thing to just bottle things up until that it gets to that point.
Right. Yeah. And we're trying to avoid the blow up here in this conversation, just making that clear.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would never blow up at you.
No, me neither. Me neither. There's never been a time where I felt the need to have to blow up on Reiki ever. He's always been real respectful and mindful, very aware of who he is as a
I
person
try to
as
be.
well. So, yeah,
And
never
another thing to
experienced
take into
anything.
consideration within the households where you have children, don't be afraid. Don't, hesitate to give off some of the smaller chores to the kids. They can easily load a dishwasher. They could easily sweep up the floor or vacuum if you have carpeting. They could easily feed the pets. They could easily take the trash out of the garbage can.
Yep. Oh man, when you have children in the relationship, I mean, give them all the crap that you don't want to do. Change the litter box, pick up the dog poo, like you said, throw out the trash, like, pick up your room. Um, just little things.
The
That's what I
rooms.
do with my daughter. Yeah, that's another thing there. Why is Ricky
The
looking
rooms
over
is
and laughing?
probably because I get the feeling she's over there watching the stream. But the rooms is something that I'm constantly getting irritated at because kids, they're terrible at cleaning up their rooms. It's gotten to the point where if I just don't want to look at it throughout the day until they get home from school, I'll just close their door.
Right. Yeah, I did the same thing with my daughter when she had her own room. She's getting a new room now. I'm kind of barging in and staying in it for the time period, but this is her room that we're staying in. And I find myself cleaning up after it since I'm staying in it. And it's not going to be like that because I remember when she had her own room and man, did she, let me tell you. I mean, she would leave messes under the bed in crevices that I couldn't even remember. I just, how did you find the space to put all these bags and water bottles in? Yeah, the kids, I don't know, man. I don't know. Mm, It's bad. It can be atrocious. And it's stressful.
It definitely can be.
It's stressful on the relationship too and on the parents. Um, I mean, it brought on multiple arguments between me and my ex because of her room being the way that she kept it. And I would be on her to clean it, clean it, clean it. But she would just move her mess from one place into another and just put a blanket over it.
Mm-hmm. See, and that's one of my big stress factors too, is the common areas. Constantly having to repeat myself to clean the common areas. If you make a mess, if you're pulling toys out and leaving them all over the place, I'm not going to want to see that. If I want to invite somebody over, I want them to be comfortably sitting somewhere, not looking
Yes.
at a mess.
That
Especially
right
the way my
there.
mother is. If I invite her over for dinner or for a coffee or something, I know she's going to get on me about it because she raised me better than that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. And she's going to look at you and she's going to be like, what is going on? Like, I did not
Right.
raise you like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She would absolutely be on me about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But me and Ricky have had a discussion previously. Both of our moms are very similar. So we relate to that so heavily. It's like, clean your space when you're done. Yeah. I have to get on my kid about it.
Oh, yeah. Even the slightest mess on my desk, it bothers me. I have to have a clean work area, especially now that it's on camera. Have to have it clean.
Exactly. Yeah. No, for real. I relate to that.
Now, another stress factor, another issue when it comes to equality within the relationships is decision making. And it could be the littlest details, like what to have for dinner. Most people are arguing. To me, this is the number one argument factor within a relationship is decision making. Because you have those couples that make decisions for the relationship without discussing it with the other person.
Mm-hmm. I think
I've
that's
struggled
unfair.
with that. I know you've struggled with that.
Yes. My take on that is that I think it's completely unfair for one partner to make a decision without consulting the other one. It basically takes away the other partner's option to make a decision, let alone even feel included in whatever that decision was. Especially if it's something that has to do with the home, the living space, even in the relationship in general. I mean, how dare you take my choice away from me?
Right.
So.
The only way I could see it being acceptable to make a decision without a discussion is if it's like a reoccurring issue. Like you talked to them about it before, repetitively, and you just see no change within this issue. At that point, it's kind of okay. At this point, I'm making a call.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes
that,
it's
to me,
needed.
is
You know what I
like
mean?
the only acceptable reason.
I agree. I mean, if you've already had discussions about it before, it's not like you're taking that opportunity away because this is something that you've either already addressed or something that you've already tried working with them on, regardless if it's your partner or even speaking in regards to children and their relationship as well. And at a certain point, as an adult, as a mature adult, it's important for us to finally make a decision for ourselves, to finally start seeing some sort of action, because obviously nothing's happening.
And I agree with the comment down there. Then there's that, and the people that don't make any decisions at all, and it's put all on the other person. That, yeah, that to me is extremely frustrating. Having to make every decision for every little circumstance there is. Like me personally, I can, because that's more so my role for my type of relationship. But again, that's a topic for a completely different discussion.
Right.
But at that point, it's previously agreed upon to have that majority say, to have that deciding factor within the relationship. For your average relationship, it shouldn't all be on that one person.
Yeah, it shouldn't. No, not at all. No, at that point, it's like, what am I dating? A hot air balloon? I mean, for crying out loud.
A wall.
And I will say women have fought for their rights for so long, right? Like, to this day, the president still has to sign off on a bill for us to be able to vote, for crying out loud. Like, it's not written in law. Like, we still have to get something signed, some sort of document signed for us just as women to be able to vote. So when we have fought for, I want to say maybe almost a decade now, close to, not even a full decade, we've been fighting for our rights. And so utilize that, use your mind. We used to get crucified and attacked for even just thinking, so women, utilize it. That's just, use your mind. Don't let the men always make decisions. Don't, have your say too. Speak up, use your voice.
Right. And it might be like a petty little example, but there's also the whole, you're out and about running errands, you guys get hungry. Okay, what do you want to eat? I don't know.
Then you're not hungry.
The I don't know. That to me is irritating as all hell.
Yeah.
We're out and about. Just pick a fucking restaurant that's close to us.
For me, it's always pizza, burgers, or barbecue. Simple.
I'm always down for some burgers. Some bacon cheeseburgers.
Oh, man. Can't go wrong. Scarlett,
is it really
she says,
that hard to just think about the restaurants around you and just pick something? Simple decision to make.
That's true. Scarlett, she says 10% of that was me because my ex didn't
100.
want to discuss my feelings.
100%. She corrected herself.
Oh, 100%. That was, okay. I got it. Okay, sorry. 100% because her ex didn't want to discuss her feelings. So she experienced a lot of dismissal in her relationship. Wow. So sorry you dealt with that, Scarlett. That's not okay. And I'm glad you left that relationship. To me, it sounds like there was no equality at all whatsoever in that particular relationship at all. So, I mean, you made the right decision and moving on for sure.
As anyone should, being put in that circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Anna says the only issue.
Leading us into our next one.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Ricky. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to lead on to the next discussion topic, which was control of money.
Yes.
That everlasting argument of who has control of the money. Me personally, I don't care. If you're earning your own income, as long as bills are paid, spend your money on what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. Um, I've always been in control of my own money. I've never dealt with this situation per se, so I will speak from experience of witnessing this from my parents, and other relationships that I have witnessed. In most cases, the men are usually the ones in control of the finances. I will say that the women that I have encountered in these types of situations, the women are usually the big spenders and tend to blow a lot of the cash, usually on what they say is necessary, but in reality, it could very much be unnecessary items. Um, so for me, the way that I control my finances, I don't spend anywhere that I don't need to. I'm very frugal. I'll keep using something until it's until I'm down to the bottom of it. But yeah, I've always witnessed men, and I've never seen any issues with it other than the women asking, "What's my limit?" So if they have one.
I don't give her a limit on what she can spend. As long as the bills are paid around here, spend what you want. Half the time I have to argue with her to buy herself something.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm the bigger spender in my situation, but same time I also look for stuff for around the house and whatnot.
I think that's different though, because you're spending the finances that you both make together, on something that you both will benefit from. It's not like something personal where you're like buying yourself new glasses or constantly new phones or always just clothes for you or cologne and going out and partying and drinking. You know what I mean? That's different. So you're doing it for the family.
Right. Which I guess it helps that my party days are long gone, so that's one less spending issue under the roof.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it works for some relationships where the parting is still there, and it works for others for it to not be. I'm one of the people that prefers the parting session or, all of those things to just be completely obliterated. I'm not a big partier like that. I'll have, little get-togethers and so forth, but that's about it.
I rarely do that. Some of my coworkers have been trying to get me out for a while, and they usually get a hold of me late in the night, and I'm like, I'm already dressed for bed. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I've gotten old in my days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you are an old soul as well, so, you're very wise beyond your years for sure.
Well, I mean, look at my choice of music for the night.
Which I love, by the way, because nobody loves jazz. I mean, and I love it. I love jazz. I've been listening to it for years.
I see this more as kind of blues.
Blues is blues, jazz. I mean, come on, you can't go wrong.
Very true. I mean,
Oh,
got a whole
huh?
record player for a reason.
That was so sick. It's badass. Oh, Anna says the only issue with that is how do you differentiate between one half making the decision because the discussion has already been had and compromise?
Hmm.
How do you
I
differentiate
feel like
between
she
one
needs to
half
elaborate on that one a little bit.
been had and compromised? Maybe she's referring to like a conversation that you guys have already been making or already been having, and it's a repeated conversation, and then nothing's coming about it. So how do you make it work? I don't know. I'm maybe that's how I feel. Is that how I'm reading? Am I reading it correctly?
Oh, I have no problem
Oh, she
jumping
said,
back to previous topics if it's in the comments. But I don't know if it's something that has already been discussed and no action has been taken. I feel like there should at that point just be, okay, well, we need to come to a decision about this. This is my idea. What's your idea? Otherwise, we're just going to go with my idea if you don't have something for it. But obviously, it can't be anything outrageous either.
I wanted to ask what would be outrageous, but I don't know if I'm going off topic here.
It depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
Like, obviously, if it's something as simple as repainting the wall, you talk and talk and talk about it, no decision gets made. Oh, well, I'm just going to pick a color then. But if I decide to go with something outrageous like a neon green, it's going to be an issue because it's going to be an eyesore.
Yeah, it could be. Unless that's the theme.
Scarlett says, my ex planned our whole wedding with his friends. I hardly got a say. I only got to choose dresses and cake. That's it. That would be outrageous. Perfect example. That would be outrageous.
His
So I'm
culture.
sorry, isn't that supposed to be the Woman's Day?
Wow. That would upset me so much on my wedding day, like knowing that he did everything like that. No. That's a huge red flag.
Massive.
Oh, yeah. Wow. His culture, he rules the house. I mean, I can understand cultural differences for sure. And then I can understand how Scarlett was wanting to, be submissive or maybe even be like compromised, and understanding. I feel like she has such a beautiful heart and a big heart that she was very much willing to give in to this person and not think twice or not think too much of it because she was coming from a good place. And this guy just completely walked all over her, this poor woman. Wow.
Yeah, that's at that point taking advantage of the situation because I'm sorry. I personally don't want to go back through the route of marriage, but if it ever came down to me getting remarried, choose what you want. Yeah, you could take it out and you can take it up with me and see if I agree with the choices and whatnot, but I'm not going to take full control of that because that's supposed to be a woman's day. Like, yeah, the man's getting married too, but that is always, in my culture at least, been a day for the woman.
Mine too. Yeah. Well, we have similar cultures. Yeah. It's supposed to be the Woman's Day. I'm sorry that you experienced. Oh, Scarlett. I want to give her a hug. Poor thing.
AG says, how do you guys feel about individuals who make the difference in income an issue, though? I don't care. Personally, you make more than me. It's great. That's just more money coming into the household. Like, yeah, my pay rate is higher, but she works more hours than I do. Her paychecks are bi-weekly, mine are weekly. So her checks end up coming out bigger than mine do. But end of the day, if I work a little overtime, my checks could equal out to hers. It's all about letting go of that pride when it comes to income. Income doesn't make the leading role within a household. Income just helps keep things stable within the household.
Right. I mean, I've so in some of my previous relationships, like one of them in particular, I always was the one that made more money in my relationships. I've always made more money. And my ex found that to be somewhat of kind of like a, I don't know, he just felt, I guess, insecure or embarrassed by it. And um, he never spoke ill of it, but it made me start feeling like, and this was again just speaking on my personal experience, but it started making me feel like because he knew that I made more money, he started having me pay for more things or having me, lend him money, things like that. And I don't really feel comfortable with situations like that, especially when it's like for outings. Like if you need it, like, yeah, absolutely. And I have it for sure, not a problem, not an issue, non-issue. But it was almost starting to become somewhat of a repetitive motion. And I didn't, I had to think about my finances. But essentially, going back to your question here, I think that more men feel insecure and threatened by a woman that makes more money. And I've personally experienced how men have used that as some sort of manipulative tactic against women. Now, keep in mind that the roles can easily be reversed for men. Men who make money, men who have made more money, and then you have what people call gold diggers. So, you know,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, just be a good person. At the end, just be a good person. Don't use anybody for money, even if they make more. Be reasonable about it and pull your own weight. Don't be dependent. Be independent in this life because you never know what can happen.
All right, so here's a big question: bringing marriage and income into it. How do you feel
Yeah.
about prenups?
I think if it's absolutely necessary, yeah, absolutely. I would see no reason why somebody would be against it. For instance, if I make millions or billions, um, yeah, I'm gonna here, sign a prenup. What's mine is mine.
And if
If
they
you make your
refuse,
own, then we're not getting married. But if I'm broke, why am I gonna get a prenup? I don't want to stay broke.
absolutely. I am never going to claim to be a wealthy man, but if that's the case, I come into the marriage with what I got, you come in with what you got, and if we split up, you take what you had, and I'll take what I had.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, look, prenups are not a bad thing. I mean, you just want it really essentially what they're there for is just to make sure that you protect what is yours, what you've already established, and that the other person cannot touch it. For instance, you don't even have to be a billionaire. You could just make a decent amount of money. If you have a business, if you have certain homes invested, um, like I mentioned, prenups are just to protect what is yours and that the other person cannot take you for half of whatever your income is, including those investments. So now you have to sell all your homes and lose all your income. It's just a form of protection, financial protection.
Absolutely. Like if I started my own business, yeah, no, that's mine.
Hmm. Yeah, but without a prenup, even if you started it without one, she could take half of that business,
Exactly.
even though she put no work into it or anything. So,
Right. Like if I financially put everything into a business, who's to say
mhm,
that somebody wouldn't just come in and just snap of a finger, half of it's mine?
mhm. And that's happened to many people.
All right. Respecting each other's opinion.
Hmm. That's important.
I cannot stress enough how many relationships I've been in where it was always about their opinion. My opinion just out the window. Didn't matter.
Do you think that's because you're a man and your opinion had no say, or what type of personality do you think is, the one who is very dismissive? Like, if you could put a personality type, what type of personality do you find that made you feel very dismissed?
Narcissistic.
Yeah, gotcha.
Been with a lot of narcissists that had the nerve to call me the narcissist in the relationship.
Don't you find that funny?
Hilarious.
Yeah. Um, I've been called a narcissist by one person in my entire life. No one has ever
I've
told me,
never once gotten that impression of you.
thank you. I was just shocked, and it made me look at him like, thank you for saying that, because now I know what a narcissist is, and you just confirmed that you are one by calling me one, because I am nowhere near that. That was crazy.
I just find it funny when people have that narcissistic tendency,
Hmm.
but they will project it onto their partner and make them out to be the narcissist within the relationship.
Hmm. Anna's calling me a narcissist. No, not Anna. Oh my god. No, but going back to your question, respect in a relationship, not only is it super important, but I have found also that some people have dismissed my emotions or anything that I've said. Um, so I feel the exact same way as you, Ricky. I feel like me and you have dated, um, obviously in opposite genders, but very similar personality types. Me too. I've dated nothing but narcissistic people in the past.
I personally can't say I've dated nothing but narcissists, but I've definitely had my share of them.
Hmm. Narcissists have a hard time accepting the fact that they are one. Oh my God, no, I didn't call you one. I pressed send early. Okay, no worries. I thought you were just joking when you were doing it anyways. No, but it's true. They do have a hard time accepting the fact that they are one. They don't see that they are. They're like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. They deny it. But listen, this is
Right.
one
If
thing
someone
that
has to sit there and argue with themselves, am I a narcissist? The fact that you have to
Mhm.
argue it within yourself, odds are you're not.
Right. Yeah. And this is one thing that I learned also in regards to the narcissistic personality type is that, there's so many people when they were becoming aware of what being a narcissist is, and they ask themselves, am I a narcissist? And just you even asking that question alone tells you that you're not, because you would know if you are
Right.
because of that immediate denial.
Right. And a narcissist would never even come to the idea of questioning whether or not they are.
Period.
They would just keep denying it within themselves. They would never even
Yep.
acknowledge, okay, well, maybe something is, wrong with the way I'm acting.
Yes. Agreed. Now, do I think that a lot of people have narcissistic tendencies? Sure. But does that make them a narcissist? No, not at all.
We all have those tendencies. We're human. We're flawed.
Yes.
Nobody is perfect. And regardless if you meet that one special person that in your mind they are perfect, I hate the word perfect. Because to
Mm-hmm.
me, the word perfect means I peaked. I'm at the
Mm-hmm.
top of my game. I will never get any better than this. I like to
Yeah.
think, okay, well, I'm doing good in my life, but I can still go further.
Mm-hmm.
I can push my
Mm-hmm.
own limits and further myself from where I am now. Doesn't matter how good standings I'm in, I can always be better. Why I've
Mm-hmm.
always hated being called perfect. I'm not.
I agree. Definitely agree.
Far from. All right. Levels of emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to say, but women struggle with this one more.
Please do tell. Do tell. Share with the class.
Women struggle more so with a male's emotional support because we, going back to the whole social standing, are not supposed to have emotions. We're supposed to be emotionally stable to where we can just hide it,
Right.
where we never show it. So when a man expresses their emotions, the knowledge of how to deal with a man's emotions, it's slim to none. Hardly anyone has knowledge of that because when is it talked about as to how to deal with a man's emotions versus how to deal with a woman's emotions?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very foreign concept.
Unfortunately, I agree. It definitely is a very foreign concept on how to handle, address, navigate, support, um, men and their emotional needs. But it also makes it very challenging when the men lack emotional intelligence as well, and they don't verbalize what they need. Now, that could be a result of them constantly being uh, pushed down or constantly being dismissed from their parents from childhood. If they had siblings, being dismissed, it's a result from nature versus nurture.
I agree. But that also plays into the male, if the male understands what they are feeling or what they need, which I'm not going to lie, most of us don't, because we are taught at a very early age not to express it. So, how are we supposed to learn these emotions? How are we supposed to know what we need to cope with these emotions when we were never taught to? We were never told it was okay to express it until way later down our lifeline, we find somebody who is okay with us expressing ourselves. At that point, it's already embedded in our brains. Nobody cares.
Hmm. I mean, I have to agree. That's the reality and the sad truth of it in most situations. And I think we've grown as a society to this day to understand that men do cry, men do have emotions, men should be free to express what that is and not be judged about how they feel about certain things. Um, Now, going back to Anna's comment here, she says, but that also plays into if the male understands what they're feeling or what they need. It's not all on the women to decipher that. And that I also agree, because we're not mind readers. We're not here to decode anybody's emotions unless you are a licensed or trained therapist, AKA your name is Anna. But, no, I'm kidding.
Way to put her in a hot seat.
I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you're right. It's not up to us to decode that. It's up to him to want to try to break that cycle that he has unfortunately been placed under by societal standards. Uh, Now, if he understands what he's feeling and if he understands what he needs and he's refusing to communicate this, now this poses a bigger problem for the woman because it's going to stress her out trying to understand him, but yet he knows what he's doing. That makes him manipulative, in my opinion.
Refusing to talk about it, yes, that's one thing. But as far as it's up to a woman to decipher, not up to a woman to decipher it, that leads back into how do we express something that we were never taught how to express? How do we talk about something that we were never, given the
Mhm.
okay to express.
Mhm. Now I can see how this would actually be a really beautiful relationship from somebody who doesn't understand what they're feeling, the emotions that they feel, they don't get it, and they're feeling these emotions, and they have a wonderful woman by their side who is able to see and decipher because she's intuitive, and women are very natural, beautiful creatures. We're very emotionally intelligent people, beings, and let's say that she is with a man who has a very hard time addressing his emotions. And she looks at him and she sees that he's on the verge of breaking, or he's on the verge of this, or he's starting to self sabotage. And she could sit there and literally voice and start explaining how certain things like this work. She's able to kind of read the mind and explain what he's feeling. And this may allow him to feel comfortable enough to start opening up and help him start releasing and becoming aware. And in turn, it actually helps him. So I could actually see this being a very beautiful moment of awakening, so to speak, to one's suppressed emotions.
It can be. I still struggle with it. I'm
I
not gonna
do
lie, I
too.
still struggle with communicating my own emotions.
I do too. I
And I've
won't
been
sit here
given
and
that
lie.
reassurance.
Yeah. But see, it took you some time to find, that reassurance from your partner, um, to find the right partner for you. It took you some time.
28 years.
Yeah. That's a lot sooner than a lot of us.
And leading back into the whole a man's emotional awareness, how often do you think men get flowers?
That's true.
Most men will not see their first flowers ever. They receive their first flowers at their funeral.
Hmm. That's sadly, that's the sad truth. I mean, do packs of beer count? Could that count?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
It definitely reassures us that you were thinking about us, but not the same thing.
okay. Well, I tried.
Although I will take a nice 6-pack. That would be great.
What if it's your favorite bottle of liquor?
But maybe between a rock and a hard place. No, I'd still rather look at roses. Not gonna lie. That's just me personally, though.
Okay. Duly
Although
noted.
single barrel Jack would be great.
It's one or the other, Ricky. One or the other. I'm just kidding.
I choose the roses.
Perfect. That's right in my budget. All right. I'm kidding. No, surprisingly, roses can actually be quite costly. I mean, Lord, it can cost a pretty penny. So after all this, we're all sending Ricky roses. Gotcha. Anna.
I'm all for it. I am all for it.
She also says, I feel like that needs to be done at the beginning of the relationship because then the relationship is never going to progress. And therefore, it's going to be difficult to break the cycle in the future. Hmm.
No, I
And
completely
there,
agree. It should be established early on within the relationship. Otherwise, yeah, you're just gonna stay in the endless cycle.
hmm
But also needs to be a safe space. You need to make them aware that you're not gonna use the knowledge they give you about themselves against them later on.
hmm
Because if we feel like you're just gonna turn our own words against us, we're never gonna open up.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That is true. I'm guilty of doing that to a couple people. But, how soon is too soon? Now I have a question. How soon is too soon to express something like this to somebody that you've just started dating, like your emotional trauma, your emotional needs? Like, if somebody came to me and I had just started talking to them and they started saying, okay, well, listen, I need you to do this and I need you to understand that. You know what I mean? So it's like, how soon is too soon to emotionally dump or express these things?
I mean, I guess it would depend on what they are emotionally dumping on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like small things, okay, that's one thing. I would say within a month or two of dating, it's okay to, put some of these smaller things out there. The bigger stuff, obviously, they're gonna want to get a feel for who they're with and how much they can tell them without it being spread between their group of friends.
Mm.
Because that's a huge thing. If I tell you something, I'm telling you in confidence. If you're gonna go out and broadcast my personal life, my personal information for your friends or whatever the case may be, I'm not gonna want to tell you anything. Because why would I want something that I had trouble telling you to be broadcast for everybody?
Sure, but women talk, and in the beginning of a relationship, she, wants to make sure that, let's just say that she mentions a conversation that you guys have to her friend, and she's like, hey, what do you think about this? And it's just like, it's not gossiping, it's just like trying to gain insight and perspective. And, it would that still be like not okay in your eyes, do you think?
It depends on what you're talking about. Like if it's something extremely personal, obviously you gotta kind of make that determining factor for yourself on whether or not, okay, does he want me talking about this?
Mm, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because if it was something personal about me, I'm not having that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of, and I'll admit, I am guilty of speaking about certain topics or conversations to my best friend, and talking to her, and me and her both, we do this, and we talk to each other about you know their personal struggles because it affects us. It becomes stressful on us, and because we're in relationships with these people or we're having to deal with these people. And so then, we just try to talk to each other and try to help each other out. I obviously want to see her wants to see me happy, and we want to see each other, in good spaces. So, we lean on one another in the event that it's something, that we just feel like, oh, it's too much to bear. It's not for every discussion, but it is for some very, very tough ones that we do share things with one another.
Right, and that's understandable, having that one person at least to talk to.
Yeah.
But when you're going to a group of people and, exposing these parts of your partner, not okay in my opinion.
I
That's just
agree.
my opinion though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No,
obviously we all need that one person.
yeah, we do. I definitely agree with you, because at that point it's like kind of embarrassing for your partner when you start bringing them around these same people that you just aired out all of their dirty laundry, in front of, and your partner just has no idea. And all of these people know, like, Ricky likes his toes being licked. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding.
Whoa. Mm-mm.
I'm
That I do
clearly
not.
just, I'm
No,
clearly
but
joking.
Yeah, if you're establishing this information with one person, I could see that being okay. But when you're going to a group of people, who's to say that group of people isn't going to go to another group of people spreading that laundry? And next thing you know, it gets back to your partner, and they don't want to talk to you about issues they're having anymore because it got back to them that you were just going out there spreading what they gave you.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yes,
goes
and that's
both
a good.
ways too. I'm sure women definitely wouldn't appreciate their man talking about their issues with their group of friends, and it gets back to them that all this personal information you told them got spread around like a wildfire.
Believe it or not, that's happened to me before. That unfortunately has happened to me before, and also the same person who did it to me did it to one of the girls that he started to date at a certain point as well. He was telling me all of her business. He was telling other people all of her business. And I was like, ew, yep,
Saying not okay.
nope.
Definitely
one
not
time,
okay.
one time, he had told me that somebody had some sort of condition. And so I told the girl, I was like, well, at least I don't have, the condition, right, that she had. And and then she got all butthurt and she texted him and she was like, "You told her about my condition." I mean, it made me so happy to know that I upset her because she's just you know. But anyways, I digress.
But leading back into the whole equality factor of it, did you
Yes,
appreciate stuff that you were discussing getting spread around?
absolutely not. No, because one thing is that it showed me even more. I couldn't trust the person that I spoke to in regards to that already. Like the trust factor was already gone. And then just to find out that this person was spreading and airing out my personal business, and then twisting it, it just made me look at this person like, why do I even talk to you? Like, you already broke my trust. Why are you still going? Like, what, are you obsessed with me? Like, it's just annoying. Like, get away from me?
Right.
I definitely did not appreciate it.
Yeah, that's my point exactly is
Hmm.
if you want a level of respect with your partner, you gotta kind of put yourself in their shoes
Hmm.
and realize that your partner is more than likely going to want that same respect. It's all about setting boundaries within your relationship. Like, I understand you're going to talk to your one friend, but I just don't want this, broadcast for every ear within range to pick up on it and just go spreading it around.
Hmm.
Information that I trust with you and you alone.
Hmm. Yeah,
Now
when
on to the
you,
big one.
yes,
Child care responsibility.
Lord.
Taking care of the little gremlins.
Yes, yes.
Like, obviously, you're gonna want help from your partner when it comes to kids. That is not a one parent job. That is something that requires both parents to be doing an equal part in.
Hmm.
Now,
Agreed.
I understand there's always that one parent that kind of has more of a strict side to them versus a buddy buddy side to them.
Hmm.
But ultimately, they need an equal balance of both. You got to be strict, but you can't be, a dictator about things. It requires both parents to have both roles, not just
Hmm.
one.
Yeah, I think that it's unfair to have just one parent be the disciplinary one, and then the other one, what I call like the Disneyland parent, like the Disneyland dad, the Disneyland mom. Like, oh, with mom, it's always fun. Oh, with dad, it's always fun. But then, you have one parent that's the discipline. Like, no, you guys should be a team. It takes a village to raise children. So sometimes even more than just two people raising children together. And it shows more respect. The children have more respect for the parents when there's unity amongst the two of them.
Right, because then what happens when one parent is the disciplinary parent and the other one is the, as you like to say, the Disneyland parent?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna get told one thing by the disciplinary parent and go straight to the other parent to try to
Mm-hmm.
undermine them.
And if that other parent allows that, then they're part of the
That's a
problem.
whole issue right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that leads into arguments too. Like, why are you undermining my authority when I specifically said, no, they can't go out to this party?
Mm-hmm.
Or any circumstance like that. I told them no. They turned around and asked you. You said they could go. You just completely threw out any word I had on the situation. You completely threw out any reasoning as to why I said no without
Mm-hmm.
even consulting me about it. You didn't ask me why I said no.
Mm-hmm. I think it's parents who do that. I mean, I could be wrong when I say this, but to me, it almost feels like they're just on a completely different mindset. They're on a completely different level. They may even lack respect for the other parent as well. And in turn, it almost is kind of, to me, it feels like it very well could be a manipulative tactic to even turn the children against the other parent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, do you even really like your partner at that point? Because if you loved your partner, you would listen to what your partner says and understand where they're coming from, because you would understand why your partner is upset. And if you don't see eye to eye on those things, then maybe it's best that you guys don't stay in a relationship together, because these kids are going to grow up confused.
Right. And
you know
yeah, that's just gonna lead to bigger issues once they hit adulthood, because they're gonna think it's okay to just undermine the other parent once they get in a relationship, once they have kids.
hmm yeah, honest as I agree, it's not fair when the one is the hatred slash strict parent. It makes it difficult for the parent to establish a relationship with the child when they always have to be the quote unquote bad guy. Agreed. It's not fair for one parent to be
Absolutely.
the quote unquote bad guy at all. It's not fair. It's not okay. I think both parents, that you raise them, you want to be a part of your child's life. Well, guess what? You both better team up together and lay down some disciplinary actions here for that child. Absolutely. Regardless if
Yep.
you're a step parent or biological parent, whatever, it needs to happen. Don't just let it just be on me or be on, the dad. That's not fair.
Right. And I'm gonna use Lexi's daughter as a perfect example.
hmm
I grounded them from their phones, all electronic devices. Not allowed. They they were just misbehaving like no other. It finally drove me to the point where I was like, you know what? All electronic devices, mine. Taking them away from you. And day came where they were supposed to get them back.
hmm
And I woke up that morning, looked in her room, looked in his room, looked like a hurricane went through. Stayed calm, told them, clean up your rooms. Little while goes by. Walk by again. Clean up your rooms. I already asked you once.
Mhm.
Didn't listen. Okay. You got 15 minutes to get both your rooms done. Spotless. I don't want to see anything on the floor. I want the carpeting vacuumed. I want it swept. I want everything organized. And I expect both rooms to be done in those 15 minutes. Otherwise, I'm adding a week to your punishment.
Mhm. Mhm.
And she got her room done. He didn't.
Mm.
She tried to go to Lexi and say it wasn't fair that she got a week added to her punishment because he didn't finish his room. Personally, I don't see how it wasn't fair. I repeated myself multiple times to clean your rooms.
Mhm.
Since the moment I got up, you didn't want to listen. You guys kept going in each other's rooms and distracting each other.
Mm.
I feel like I was justified in my decision to just add a week to both their punishment.
Right. I think that, and this is one thing that the military taught me in that type of situation, is that even if one decided to listen and, whatever the case is, listen, I'm going to go back to the military here. I got punished for something that somebody else, in this case, didn't do that they should have done. And why? Because I was the leader. Now, this is kind of somewhat of a little bit different, but nonetheless, the concept is, look, you got to be held accountable. As a team, you all are going to be punished. You got to hold each other accountable. And that's basically what you're teaching them. Whether one did it
Yeah.
or not, you both contributed to one of them not being able to accomplish it. Instead, you guys were distracting each other. You both were not helping each other. You guys could have knocked this out in less time if you worked together instead of slacking off.
Oh, they could
I
have gotten
agree.
it done in no time if they would have just listened the first time.
Right.
Then they
Yeah.
wouldn't have
And
even had a time limit.
see,
But going into the whole military scenario, yeah, a unit that works together sticks together.
hmm
If one if one troop ain't listening, guess what? The whole team's gonna fail.
yeah,
You
you're
could be
only
on a
as strong
covert
as your weakest
operation
link.
somewhere in the middle of the desert, and you have that one troop that didn't listen to, hey, stay back. Next thing you know, your whole team is exposed.
hmm
Their whole location is compromised because that one troop didn't want to listen.
It can literally kill people. Literally. Just because someone decides not to listen or someone decides not to follow through, lives are at stake and in the military. So it is extremely crucial to follow order and to just have your teams six at the end of the day because they're all
Mm-hmm.
dependent on each other.
In
So,
my case, Addie went to her mom and did the whole I don't think it was fair deal with her, and I overheard the conversation from our bedroom. All Lexi said was, "It's not my place to go against what he said. He's the one who took your devices away. He decides when you get them back.
mm,
It, he's the one who makes the rules in the household, and I'm not gonna go behind his back and undermine his authority."
hmm I mean, I think that's fair, as an equal contributor to the household. Um, that's absolutely fair. She's showing the kids unity. She's showing the kids that they need to listen to you. Even though, the situation, right? Like it shows that, hey, we can't just go to mom and try to undermine Ricky. We can't make him feel any less than who he is. And mom has his back and we need to listen. So she gave you that power. essentially. And that's important, especially in relationships, um, is making sure that the kid knows who's in charge. And it's not them, you know.
Oh, I've
So,
I've made my point on that one too.
hmm yep,
Granted,
they're
it
not living in
took
your.
me snapping, but I digress.
Yeah. Anna says there's multiple forms of being the strict parent. Another is the parent who just disciplines because they don't like to be bothered and need 100% control. In some cases, like mine, we're absent and mean. Ah, this. Yes. I feel that this is something that both Ricky and I have experienced with our own mothers. Um, so my mom
I
was
plead the
never
fifth.
really physically absent, but she was definitely emotionally absent, which to me, it might as well just be the same thing. Um, but you're absolutely correct, Anna. That is definitely another form where they need 100% control. My mom is very controlling in a lot of different ways, especially when I was younger. My God. Um, Now, the only reason why she was able to run around and reign like this is mostly because my dad was at work more than half the time. So he had no idea that this was her behavior or that this is how she acted in any way. But it happens. And I think that in most scenarios, whenever there is a working parent, or even with single mothers or single dads, this can absolutely be a huge detrimental factor, especially when raising children, for sure.
No, and I agree with you 100%. To me, emotional absence is no different whatsoever than physical absence because my parents dealt with so much arguing within themselves. And I actually had this conversation with my stepmom during Thanksgiving dinner
Mm,
because, in her perspective of my dad, they have never argued. They just don't disagree on things. And she has never seen the side of my dad that I saw growing up. And I told her flat out, it's because of you that he's like that now. It's not because of anything that we were doing growing up. It's because of the arguing that he experienced with my mother.
hmm Yeah.
So both my parents were very emotionally absent, and a lot of that had to do with their own argument.
And can I ask you, do you hold both your parents, like, do you hold a grudge against both of them for that?
I can't say I hold a grudge against them. I definitely acknowledge the fact that a lot of what's wrong with my perspective on expressing myself did
Hmm
root from them and watching them growing up.
hmm
But I can't say I hold a grudge against them because ultimately that is what made me me. That's what made me grow up with the mentality I have is having been put through the situations that I went through because of how I grew up.
Yeah. The only reason why I ask, and I'm sorry if I got a little personal there, but I'm just genuinely curious, only because uh, it's going to get a little personal for me now. My grandparents, both my grandmother and my grandfather on my mother's side, uh, they were in a very domestic violence, toxic relationship, abusive, alcoholism, and so forth, infidelity, name it, it happened. Um, and my grandma is like in her 90s now, and she had four children. One of them was murdered. The other two are boys, which are still living, and then my mom. And her sons want nothing pretty much to do with my grandmother, their mom. They don't really visit her, they don't see her, they don't spend time with her. My grandmother also adopted her sister's kid who she raised, and she also despises my grandmother, and my grandmother is a very sweet lady. Um, I wasn't raised by her, obviously, but I have never heard of any stories of my grandmother being abusive. But I do know that she was dealing with domestic violence. I do know that she was dealing with my grandfather's alcoholism. I do know that she was dealing with abuse. I do know that she was dealing with infidelities in their relationship. And it seems as though her sons and this adopted thing that she took on seem to have huge resentment and grudges towards my 90-year-old grandmother who's now suffering from dementia. And she's by herself all the time. And my mom is the only one that really goes in and checks on her and makes sure she's okay. And so does my dad. They're the only ones who give a damn about my grandmother. That's why I ask, is because I maybe they experienced emotional absence growing up because of what she was dealing with, and they just hold it against her badly. Sad.
Yeah, and no need to apologize about trying to get personal. It's what we're here for. Just kind of help people understand their own perspectives on things, their own situations within life, and I get it. I have no problem sharing certain things. Other things, I might leave them dark for a bit. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, I definitely can say the one resentment I do have was for a while I was a very aggressive person when I would get angry, and a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
did stem from my dad.
Mm.
I can remember one situation in particular where I was on the phone, being a teenager, you want to be on the phone with the person you're dating or friends, whatever. And yeah, it was late. My dad came down and said, "Hey, get off the phone." But he obviously did it a lot more aggressive than that. I dulled it down a little bit and snatched the phone out of my hand and gripped the back of my neck.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I had already seen so much aggression out of my dad growing up that I snapped immediately. I got angry that he gripped the back of my neck. So what did I do? I put him through a drywall.
Mm-hmm.
I put him through the drywall in the basement. Did not hesitate. You want to get aggressive with me? You want to get hostile with me? Okay, you taught me it was okay to. You taught me when the going gets rough, it's okay to get aggressive. So here's a life lesson for you, Dad. And yeah, he had a very strained relationship with me from that day up until the day my son was born.
Yeah. As parents, we definitely need to hold ourselves accountable for our actions because they do seep onto our children, whether we think that it does or that it doesn't, but it does. And, if it wasn't for his actions and his behaviors in front of you that displayed that, you would have never, like, maybe you would have felt it, but you may not have acted on it in the ways that you did, you know?
Right. Yeah, and he'd already gotten that way with my older brother before the incident with me.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother taught me how to defend myself because he was worried I would have to go through the same thing eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I did.
Mm.
And yeah, my dad learned real quick that you lost against my brother. My brother taught me you lost against me. He limped up the stairs.
Oof. Family drama is so
Might be a small
painful.
guy, but
Hmm. Oh, I know you can do damage.
I can hold my own. I can
Yeah.
hold my own.
No, I know. I know you can do damage. I know.
But yeah, my stepmom found it crazy that I even knew this side of my dad when she'd never once seen it. And I flat out told her that, yeah,
Mhm.
it's the whole difference in experiences that he's had. Right now, he's happy. He feels like he's with somebody who sees his value, who makes him feel like an equal versus, oh, it's a constant battle the second you get up.
Mhm. It's Look, I am sure your mom had her reasons why she behaved that way towards your father. Nobody's perfect, but at a certain point, yeah, you gotta leave if it's becoming to that point. Or maybe she was just like that, you know what I mean? Then you got to step up for yourself and just say, "Hey, I got to go. I can't do this anymore. This is
Yeah,
I'm
I
going
never
out
did
for
get a
milk."
reason. I never did get a
Well,
reason as to why she stuck around or why it got to that point or any of that. At this point,
yeah.
I don't really care. You guys are already divorced. You went your
Mhm.
separate ways. I learned what I had to in the ways apparently I had to.
Mhm.
And yeah, it sucks that I had to learn the way I did, but came out a better person for it.
And you realize what it is that you want and what you don't want in your life as well.
I absolutely did.
Mhm.
Took a long ass time to do it, but yeah, I learned from it
As long as you learned, that's that's really what's important. So that's
eventually.
good. Yeah. Hey, it doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean? It takes a bit
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, it definitely doesn't happen overnight. And
Mhm.
that's the same thing I'm trying to get across is nothing in a relationship happens overnight, especially equality. You got to be able to set boundaries for yourself. You got to be able to talk about these things with your partner. Otherwise, it's just going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Anna, she said, "I'm sorry y'all had to go through that. I know it made you who you are, but doesn't mean it was okay." Agreed. And same to you, Anna.
Oh,
Same
yeah,
to you,
I
love.
agree. It None of it was okay, but ultimately, things like that get put in our path for the reason of making us who we are.
Yeah.
It puts us in the path that we need to be to meet the people that we need to meet within our life. I would have never gone down the path of witchcraft or any of that if it wasn't for all the stuff going on at home. And I felt comfort when I read books on it, when I started reading into the history of the Salem witch trials. I never would have looked into my family history and found that it was something that, you know, ran in our bloodline.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that put me in the path of running into you.
It sure did. I mean, maybe we could make that another topic at some point, how we got into spirituality, you know, from our childhood
Absolutely.
and, you know. But yeah, no, I'm grateful, honestly, and I'm glad because I feel like when me and you had spoken on a one-on-one level, I mean, differences, but also a lot of similarities on how we both came to be in our lives. So,
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of similarities within our life.
mhm.
Scary.
Yeah. I know.
But wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, not at all. Not one bit. Yeah. No.
And hell, put me in the path of meeting her too.
Mhm. It sure did. It absolutely did.
Do
She's a
gotta wonder
sweetheart.
where I would be if it wasn't for all this, though. If it wasn't for everything I'd been through, do sometimes wonder where my life would be. But
Sometimes we go through
can't live
life
on the what
and
if.
right. No, not at all. You just keep going. where life steers you, where, our deities, where spirits take us. It's where we go. It's where we end up.
Indeed.
And it's not up to us ever. I mean, we have ideas, but usually it's brought on by spirit.
Absolutely.
So she said, "You're breaking cycles, guys."
I mean, have to. Nobody's gonna break them for us. Got to break those chains on our own. Got to realize what we grew up with that we want in our life and what we don't want. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep repeating the cycle.
That's a person that I don't want to be. I don't want to be the same person. I don't want to go back to the same things. I don't want to reintroduce the same things back into my life. And I think anybody who does reintroduce anything like that similar back into their life, it's like, have you grown? Clearly not. Especially if you're going back to the place that you were when all the shit in your life started.
I mean, it's not always a bad thing to reintroduce certain things in your life, though. Like, for example, my aggression. I gotta be able to keep my aggression to a certain extent, but it's kind of repurposing it, finding a way where you can make use of it in a positive way or in a needed way versus just lashing out in blind rage.
That blind rage will get you, man. I mean, it's hard. That one's hard. When you have blind rage, like if you are someone who deals with that, like I know I do, and you don't see anything but red. Now, it takes a lot for us to get to that point. It sure does. And you got to really know us to get us to that point. Because it doesn't just happen for anything or anybody. But if you're a person that deals with that, I mean, God bless your heart, because it is tough. How do you break yourself out of it? Lord.
Meditation helped me. Meditation and my artwork.
I try to see.
Yeah, let me tell you, meds did nothing for me but make me feel like a zombie. And meds aren't for everybody. Yeah, they take the edge off, but they're not for everybody.
Same. Yeah, I forget it. I refuse to see somebody that's going to prescribe me. If I'm going to see somebody, you're going to just listen to me talk. You're not going to prescribe me any medications, and you can give me some coping mechanisms, but that's about it. I'm not going to sit there and pop a pill and nope, I'm good. Not anymore. Never again. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no. Tried that route. Did not go well.
Mm-mm. She said, yes, it's developing better ways to cope. You have to reprogram your brain to do things differently, especially when you've done it for so long. And that's not easy. A lot of people give up on that. A lot of people give up on doing that.
It's all trial and error. You got to keep trying. Failure is not failure. It's just teaching you a way of not going about something.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That is true.
But I think
Who's the
there's a good
billionaire? Was it
stopping
Elon Musk?
point.
Ah, yes. Sounds good,
Elon Musk is one of them. No, it's because I'm picking up too many background noises.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Yeah. Sensitive mic.
It's a good mic, though. I
Let me
mean, you
just
could hear everything clearly.
scroll here and pick next week's topic.
Yes.
Ooh, let's get some chisme ones here.
Ooh, love
Relationship
it.
red flags. I think
That's a
that's a
good
good
one.
one for next week. So make sure you
I
bring
am.
some tea, some croissants, because next week's topic will be relationship red flags.
I'm so excited for this one. I've got plenty.
Oh, you and me both. But thank you guys for joining. Feel free to drop a like, subscribe, especially if you're new. If you're new, stay tuned. Free. I
Yes.
will talk to you later.
Sounds good, Darlene. Thank you for having me as always. Love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe.
Of
Thank you,
course.
everyone, so much for tuning on in, and we will see you next week.